welcome welcome you today and about that. Um, and it's encouraging, the turnout encourages me to think that maybe we've found a useful way to respond to the needs of the arts and learning sector in these challenging times. I want to give a warm note of thanks to our sponsors, the Canada Council for the Arts and the Azrieli Foundation, for making this webinar series possible. And my thanks to Laura Harb and Kathy Lando for agreeing to lead us into the critical world of social media. And our managing director, Jennifer. Jennifer, thanks for organizing the series. Well done, thank you. I just want to say, to introduce the network, I only want to say that the Canadian Network for Arts and Learning is deeply concerned about the discoverability of arts and learning programs, and we believe that the arts are essential to Canada's well-being, and your leadership in arts and learning will make an enormous difference to the recovery of children, youth, and lifelong learners during the pandemic and for years to come. So thank you and a hearty welcome.
Thank you, Larry. It's so wonderful to see so many familiar names and so many familiar faces. And I just want to, at this point, give a brief overview of how we've been working towards discoverability for Canada's arts and learning sector. And a big part of that is through Canada's map of arts and learning. Now, so many of you are familiar, so you've likely had a tour of the map before, but I'm going to do just a quick overview and then show you something also new that we just launched and we're very excited about. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Hopefully everybody can see it. So here is our website, as you can see, and Canada's Map of Arts and Learning. We began Canada's Map of Arts and Learning about 5 years ago. And at this point, here it is. We have almost 9,000 profiles on the map. And the purpose of the map really was discoverability, for the public to be able to discover what arts and learning experiences are happening within their own communities, and also for the people in the arts and learning sector to discover what's happening across the country, and to be able to look for collaborations or collaborators and partners, and for networking and professional development, etc. So just going to give a very brief kind of tour here. So this is the map, and you can see many different search options. I'm gonna, because the map is a little bit slow to load sometimes, I've preloaded here. So for instance, if we go, I put in Alberta, and you can see in Alberta, there are about 1,000 contacts listed in Alberta. And you can filter them by arts discipline and various different aspects here. I'm going to put in for those that are offering programming to schools, and then that pulls that up there. So for instance, if I was a school looking for theater programming, say, or some sort of in Calgary, I'll just pull up a profile here. So WP Puppet Theatre offers programming to schools. You can see their profile here. And you can see a bio. They have all their social media icons here, as well as a link to their website. They have indicated that they offer online instruction, and they have a featured project here as well. And you can see that they are theater, what they offer to schools, and their community programs. So if you're not on the map yet, we encourage you to get on there. Something new that I want to show you is that we have now just launched a non-map interface, because, as I said, the map can take a while to load, which can cause accessibility issues. And also sometimes looking at 9,000 profiles can seem overwhelming for people. So we've just launched this this other interface here, and it's basically a beta version. So we're looking for your feedback or any suggestions that you may have. So if someone wants to find an artist educator, or if an artist educator, so for instance, if an artist educator is looking to work with a school, you can look here and you can put in your province and actually let's do it again. And so you can see the kind of schools that are on the map and what they're looking for artists. So if they do in-school performances. So if you're an artist and you're looking to do a tour, this could be a good resource for you. Also for public, looking for lessons or classes, we have private online ones now. And again, if a teacher is looking for an artist to work with, they can also search that up through this directory. And another thing that pulls directly from the map would be our resources. And if you'll remember on this profile, we said online instruction, and featured projects have been there for a while, but the online instruction has been new since COVID. We've launched that so people can find digital learning resources. And if someone has indicated on the map that they do offer digital, someone can go here, a teacher or a parent looking for online lessons, and then they can search for that in their community or anywhere across Canada. So again, that pulls directly from the map. Also digital learning resources. This has also kind of exploded over COVID. People are creating these. These are more static. This is less about lessons or classes. This is more about, say, videos that teachers can use or parents. So we fully encourage you to submit your own resources. And something that's also very popular with this new interface is the funding opportunities there. We have over 200 grants and contests listed here that you can search for by artistic discipline, by your province, etc. Or you can just look at the deadlines that are coming up on a calendar as well. There's also some that don't have any deadlines. You can search down there. So that's just part of the way that we have been working towards connecting the sector with the public and with each other, and just helping support. So we're interested in your feedback on that, and I'll send you a follow-up email if you have any feedback for us there. And I know that we are, if you want, again, please do get on the map. If you're not on the map yet, you can go here to get on the map and choose a form to fill out and get yourself on the map, and then start to make those connections. And then the last thing is our own social media profiles. Of course, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter and Instagram and all of those places. And actually, I do want to introduce Lynn, who is our new, after I finish sharing my screen, but she's our new communications and research coordinator. She's just started not even 2 weeks ago. So now she's here with us, and she's taking over our social media. But I do want to encourage you to actually join this group that we have. It's a great resource because you can post your events, or you can connect with other artist educators or teachers. I'm going to post the link for this in the chat, and please do join. And it's a great way to just, to connect and to have a make deeper connections across Canada. So that was what I wanted to say. So without any further ado, so Lynn is here. Lynn, you're going to wave. She's our new welcome, Lynn, welcome to the team. We're very excited to have you with us. So without any further ado, I will now introduce our experts for the day for social media. We're very excited to have them here. So we have Lara Harb, who is, she is started the social media artist, social media artist. She's the creative director and the founder of that, and deals with so many arts organizations, and not just the arts, but beyond. Also an instructor at Humber College and the University of Toronto. And also welcome to Kathy Landolt, who is with Kathy. There she is. She also works with a very large number of arts organizations across Canada, and founder of Blue Elephant Productions, and actually has her own, I guess, session coming up on Friday, all about creating content. So a continuation of this, if you're interested. Are there still spots left, Kathy, for, yeah, a few more spots. So if you're interested in continuing that, I'll post the link for that too, also in the chat. But so for now, I'm just going to hand it over to Lara, who can get us started.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Jennifer, and I'm really excited to be here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, everyone can see my screen, right? Okay, so I figured we can start off with a little game of tough or bluff, which is basically true or false, tough being true, bluff being false. It's the same concept. I just like the words tough or bluff. I think it's much more fun. So you can type into the chat whether you think this statement is tough or bluff. Artists can use social media to reach interested buyers on a platform where they're already spending their time. So what do you think, tough or bluff? And unfortunately, I can't see the chat, but I will just move on. The correct answer is tough. So this is true. Here's an interesting stat from Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a popular social media tool. And they created this stat to kind of showcase how important social media is these days. So out of 7.83 billion users in the world, or people in the world, there are 4.2 billion active social media users. So that's 53% of the world's population are active on social media, which is pretty insane. Like, I can't imagine being Mark Zuckerberg or the founders 15 years ago thinking that this stat would hold true, that more than half of the world will be using my product or service. So here's another one. Tough or bluff, I can make a living off my art by only posting my work on social media. I'll give a couple of seconds, type into the chat. That's bluff. So, this is a common misconception with a lot of artists and small businesses that I work with, thinking that, you might just be posting your work on social media and that's it, and that may cause you a lot of success, a lot of clients. But in my experience, a lot of that is purely luck focused. We all have that one friend or a friend of a friend who puts up their work on Etsy and it suddenly blows up and they're able to make a living off of it. But the truth of the matter is social media is a marketing tool, and it's one of the tools in your tool belt to use. So there's lots of other different platforms you can use, but social media is definitely one that is helpful, but is not the be all and end all. Okay, so here's another one. I have to constantly sell my work on social media in order to make sales. Tough or bluff? Bluff. So you don't have to constantly be selling your work. You can show your work in certain ways, but the nice balance of social media is being able to show promotional content as well as non-promotional content. And Kathy will get into some of that a little bit later, and she has a whole workshop on that on Friday. So the trick of the matter is combination of promotional and non-promotional content, because we all have that one friend that always promotes themselves on social media, always promotes their work or their show. And that's great. We want to be involved, but at the same time, if you're constantly pushing or making a sale, no one is going to be interested. So the whole point of social media is to make that network and to collaborate and create a community. So it's not just purely focused on sales. Okay, here's a very specific one for the actors. I thought this was an interesting one. Okay, 50% of all casting decisions include an actor's social media following in deciding on who gets cast. Tough or bluff? What do we think? So I was pretty surprised at this. It's actually tough, so it's true. If you think about it, if you're a casting director and you have two actors of the same caliber all competing for the same role, and one actor has a social media following that's engaged, the other one is not involved in social media at all, they would most likely go for the one with the social media following because it's free marketing for their show or for the project that they're a part of. And the last one, having a large social media following determines how successful an artist is on social media. Tough or bluff? Bluff. So it's not about having a huge following on social media. You know, you can have 1 million followers, but if nobody is actually engaging with your content, then what is the point of being on social media? The point of social media is getting your audience to talk and take action and encouraging others to do the same. So it's all about building that community and the networking piece rather than how many followers that you may have. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll pass the floor along to Kathy.
There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. Can everyone can see my screen now? Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Lara. That's great. She was mentioning about always selling on social media. The analogy I like to use is you're at a cocktail party. Do you walk up to the first person you see and tell them your life story? No. You walk up to the first person you see and you start a conversation. You ask them questions, they ask you questions. You get to know each other as part of the conversation. And that's the basis of all social media interaction. If you're out there selling all the time, no one's going to pay attention to you. So we're going to get into content calendars and writing content and all that kind of thing as we go along. But there's one thing, it's a little scary for some people, is the lifetime of a post. You spend all your time creating these things, you write them, you make the pictures, you do the work. Well, unfortunately, on Facebook, these are the stats available for these 4 networks. YouTube and LinkedIn and other ones are out there, and TikTok and that kind of thing, but these are the ones that I could easily get the stats for. A Facebook post lasts about 10 minutes in the feed. An Instagram post lasts under 3 minutes. So this is when you first log into the site and you have that big wall of posts and wall of things. You'll probably show up, your post will just show up in there for under 3 minutes. And these are people who already follow you. These aren't just people that are joining into the network and don't even know who you are. These are people who are automatically engaged with you. A tweet lasts 30 seconds. That's it. It's gone. You're going to have to go, people are going to have to search through feeds, or they're going to have to search for hashtags or things, and that's where it is. On Pinterest, it's probably about 3 or 4 minutes. So all that to say, you want to be very careful with what you do. You want to be strategic with what you do, and you don't want to spend all this time working on content that nobody's going to see. You don't have time for this, and you have a much bigger picture of things you need to do with your business. Just going over a little bit of the platform to tell you sort of who's where and how and things. A lot of the demographics change, the stats and things change, and certainly over the past year or so with the shutdown, use on social media and activity on social media has certainly changed quite a bit. And, you know, with the rise of, kind of interesting to have a look at this. There's a lot of data on here. We're not going to go into it. I'll make my slides available. Jennifer can send them out afterwards if you want to see more of the data yourself, but we'll just hit on a couple of top things. So this is from 2019, 2020. I actually have the 2021 stats. They just came out. This is like really good timing for this webinar. But interestingly, this is Facebook, this top line up here. Facebook is by far still the behemoth on social media. Pinterest, interestingly, has been dropping, and you can see Twitter is this sort of brownish line in the middle. It kind of went up, interestingly, around the holidays. In 2019 into 2020, it was sort of picking up, and I believe this would have to do with also the US election. I think a lot of activity on Twitter around that time, picking up and moving through things as they're starting to ramp up the campaign. And then also here, Instagram went up, and then, YouTube, Tumblr, Reddit, everything else, they're all kind of static. And what this tells you is that the percentages here are people active on these sites. So on social media, 48 or whatever this number is, probably around 50% of people in April were active on Facebook. Oh, actually, I'm going to pop back for 1 second. So interestingly, everybody's Instagram growing up, Instagram's going up, going up, going up, going up. Everybody kept talking about the growth of Instagram. Well, here's interesting for you. In 20 and 21, again, there's a huge drop here in Facebook, which was very interesting. But generally, again, Facebook runs on the top. Instagram dropped. It wasn't this great ramp up anymore. It saw a bit of a ramp, and it's dropped down. It's not that nobody's using it. It's not that it's not valuable at all. It has absolute use for different purposes for people. Pinterest trucking along. Twitter, again, kind of trucking along. Look, there's another spike in here, US election in here. So it's just kind of interesting to see the different amount of people that are active on these platforms. TikTok doesn't show up on here yet because it wasn't something that people tallied in this period of time. It's actually just sort of come up in the last little while. But this one I find more interesting for people. This sort of tells you sort of where people are on your platforms, what age groups are active on these different platforms. This one, I had to say, really surprises me every time, that 77% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 are on Facebook. Everybody says Facebook is where your parents and your grandparents are, right? Once adults get on the platform, the kids bail and go somewhere else, right? Nobody wants to be on the same platform as your mom because they might be friends with you and they might post embarrassing photos or something. My son's 19, so there you go. Not surprising, strong on Instagram and YouTube. 30% of 18 to 34-year-olds were active on TikTok. So again, you can use stats like this to help you determine, should I be on this platform? Who do I sell to? Who am I teaching? Who comes to my shows? Who likes these things? This kind of information is helpful in determining where you should be, because I always work with my clients, and you should not be on every platform. You don't have time. You don't have the ability to be truly active on all these platforms. So my suggestion is to find one or two that really speak to your group and your audience and drill down and focus there. Spend your time on specific platforms. Again, it's some more stats that'll tell you, these are US ones. I don't have Canadian stats for this. This is a bit tricky to find, but again, people who visit various sites daily. This is an interesting one too. Again, you'll get this one in the slides. Don't worry about this one right now, but what this will show you is the percentage of people that are active on things. YouTube is by far the most active platform, then Facebook, Instagram. Now we're starting to see TikTok show up, which is kind of interesting. That was sort of a brand new stats from this is from early 2021, January through February 2021. But again, using these kinds of information to help you determine where your people are, where your demographics are, will help you as you move through. This one is probably a little, this sort of summarizes a bunch of the things for you. It shows you the number of users on these platforms. It's kind of amazing. And Twitter has been around for how long, over 10 years now, I believe, and it's 187 million users. TikTok, in a matter of months, hit 100 million users. So this is not going anywhere. This is going to be here to stay. Facebook is still up to around 2.7 billion people are using it every day. It's absolutely astounding. Again, looking at the male-female demographics, sometimes this helps you when you're looking at your audiences. Not really surprising that Pinterest is primarily female at this point. It's often used for, you know, creating collections of images and use it for inspiration for things. Pinterest, interestingly, is kind of an occasion site. People go to Pinterest when you're looking for, when major occasions happen in your life. If you're moving, if you're buying a house, if you're having a kid, if you're getting married, if you're planning a baby shower, all those kinds of things. So you'll see interesting use in there. Twitter is primarily male. It really skews male in that perspective. A lot of them, though, they're really quite similar. LinkedIn is pretty much 50-50. Facebook, close enough. And, you know, it's not that big a difference. I found this one interesting too as well. The amount of time people spend on these platforms in any given day, average amount of time. People are spending 40 minutes on Facebook. They're spending more than 45 minutes on TikTok. I mean, wow, I don't have time for that. I'm impressed. And then this one I found very interesting stat as well. Some of the sites are clearly identifying good times to post. Now, take that also with a bit of a grain of salt, because during a shutdown like right now, more people are at home, more people are online. You're not seeing the differences between you know, work hours versus evening hours, family and home time. A lot of it kind of blends and sort of merges together. But these are some kind of interesting stats to look at here. And again, we'll share those afterwards. You can use those to get into more detail. I'm going to pass this one back to Lara at this point, because she's going to talk about, oh, actually, I'm going to just do this one really quickly, actually, algorithms, because we're going to talk about, Lara's going to talk about the content and repurposing. Is that right, Lara? That's right. Okay. Just really quickly. You're going to hear a lot about algorithms and how the different sites calculate who to show content to and what to show people to. And what happens is, all of these sites look at your behavior and people like you on these sites. And so this is where I like to demonstrate, I can show you the difference between what happens when you post every day and what happens when you post on a more sporadic basis. Some of the sites now have things called stories. You all heard about the Instagram stories, Facebook has stories, LinkedIn just put in stories. Those are intended for short things that happen every day when you're posting. You can post on stories every day if you want to. But the content that lives on your Facebook wall, your Instagram feed, your Instagram page, on your LinkedIn feed, those kinds of core pieces of content, this is what I'm talking about in terms of the algorithms. This is not a story. This is something you've actually crafted and put together. So I'm using Facebook and Instagram as the example because as the two largest platforms, that's the ones I'm looking at right now. So let's just say I'm going to post every day about something that I have that's coming up. And Jennifer decides that she's going to log in on day 2. And she likes the post that I put up on day 2. Jennifer is never going to see the post that I put up on day 1. The platforms will never show it to her because it's already happened. It's past, it's gone. I've put something up new. So as far as Facebook and Instagram are concerned, whatever I posted yesterday, it's gone. It's out of there. If Jennifer decides that she's going to log in on day 3, you can imagine what happens. She's never going to see those first 2 posts that I put up. It will never serve her that content. The algorithm will never send that to her, which means that now there's 2 posts that she might have been interested in that she's not going to see because I've, in fact, canceled it out by posting the next day and the next day and the next day. For example, now, if I'm going to space it out and Jennifer logs in on day 2, the algorithm now has 2 days to show her this content. Oh, Jennifer likes, you know, I'm posting about a new concert that I'm doing. Well, Jennifer likes music. Jennifer has liked my posts in the past. We're going to show this to her because and she's got a 2-day window for Jennifer to see my posts. We have a little bit on the frequency as well. You guys can read just as well as I can, so I'm not going to read these things to you. But generally, the first number is sort of what people are average post. They post averagely 3 times a week, maybe Instagram once or twice a day. That's a little aggressive in my opinion, but certainly your maximums and minimums in terms of posting on things. If you are an active YouTube person and that your business is about YouTube videos, obviously you can post much more frequently than this. But this is sort of a guide for you. And it's intended to just have you relax a little bit. You don't have to be doing this every day. You can take the breaks, you can take the pauses, let the algorithm work for you, and let the sites sort of serve up this information so you're not constantly having to come up with 5 to 10 to 15 pieces of new information every week. But the biggest thing, and we'll get into this with the content calendars as well, is your consistency. To begin as you mean to continue. If you show up and post every day for 3 weeks and then don't post anything for 3 months, you will have lost any traction that you've gained. People will have forgotten the stuff that you're doing. Whereas if you're posting every 3 days, every 4 days, once a week, doesn't matter, but every week and you're regular about it, that allows your content to live longer. It allows your people to know what to expect from you. And it gives you some breathing time when you're creating this material so that you can spend time and create things that are really good content that you're proud of, as opposed to just trying to get something out there. Now I'm going to stop sharing and pass it back to Lara.
Awesome, thanks. Perfect. Okay, so let me just expand my screen here. Great. So what a perfect segue into repurposing content, because if there's one secret to social media, it's just be consistent with it. Find your consistent schedule and stick to it, because yeah, Kathy's absolutely right that, you know, if you disappear for a month, the chances of the algorithm going back and pushing your content to the same amount of users is very, very low. So this is why I kind of like looking at my existing content. So when we're looking at repurposing content, I want you to think about any kind of long content piece that you've created before. You may have this existing within your company, or maybe it's a blog post that you've written. Maybe it's a video, a podcast that you were a part of, or that your company has. Maybe it's a newsletter or a webinar, or even a sales deck, maybe something that is a little bit more internal. So think about any long pieces of content that you've created, and there's ultimately only 2 steps to this process. So this comes into play when there are times when, you know, you don't have a lot of time for creating a social media post. So you go back to your existing content and you can kind of repurpose it there. So just some considerations before creating the post is I want you to think about your long form content pieces, so that blog or that video. How do you deliver that content? Is it visually through a photo? Is it through a newsletter? So think about the delivery of the platform. And then think about going back to consistency. What kind of content suits your personality? Are you more of a writer? Are you more consistent with, you know, coming up once a month or even once a week, writing up a blog post? Or do you prefer talking on video or through maybe through a podcast? For me personally, I'm much more comfortable expressing my ideas just live on camera versus sitting down and putting all my thoughts into a blog post. So for me, it would be a video. But everyone works kind of differently, so it is. It helps to figure out what is that long form content piece that you can stick to that actually suits your personality. And then think about how your audience consumes that content. Are they podcast listeners? Are they readers? And so you can kind of formulate how you'd like that content piece to be delivered, how often you'll post, frequency, and when you'll post as well. So the next step is to slice and dice some of that content. So you might take a video or a podcast, and what I would do from there is I would transcribe it or create a written version of it so I can post it up onto my website as a blog post. Now there are multiple options here. If you're on LinkedIn, you can post it as a LinkedIn article. There are platforms where you can kind of post longer pieces as like an actual post. But I would take that long form content piece, slice and dice it, and you can take that, let's say the video or the blog, and create 3 Facebook posts, 5 tweets, 3 Instagram stories. Now these are all suggestions, and you can refer to Kathy's slides as to like the recommended posts. But from there, all I've done is I created this one video, and now I have 20 new social media posts out of it. The great thing about this is you don't have to be posting these 20 social media posts all at once. You want to space them out, but it's great to know that you can just create one long piece of content that is an original piece of content, that's high quality, and you can slice and dice it and create several different social media posts out of it. So just kind of an example, if I just a working example of this. So I showed in the slides, I have an example of how I would create 5 different tweets. So, you might think like, okay, am I just going to be posting the exact same social media post 5 times? Not really. So this is what it might look like. So I have a Facebook Live video that I did. I just went on Facebook Live for like 10 minutes, talked about one of the major algorithm changes. This was in the past. And then from there, what I did was I transcribed that video and turned it into a blog post. So that whole process took maybe about an hour or two to sift through, right? And then for the tweets, I've created these 5 different tweets. They're all linking to the same blog post. They're all the same sort of thing, but they're presented in different ways. So on the very left, I have, here's a new blog post that came out about the Facebook algorithm. I just posted the link, and then when you create blogs, you can attach images to them. So this is the image that auto-populated when I shared that link. You can also share the same message, but through a poll. So make it a little bit interactive. I asked my users what they think about the Facebook algorithm change, kind of a yes/no question. And then you can share a similar post, but with a different picture. You can do the same thing and share maybe a GIF. And then in the end, you can change up the caption a little bit. And what I wrote here is, in case you missed it, here's a blog post. So you can get really creative with the way that you're sharing content. And it's the exact same content. So it definitely saves you a lot of time, especially when you don't really know what to post. And when you have that one long form content piece, it really saves you a lot of time and effort for generating those social media posts. So I'll pass it back over to Kathy to talk about actual content.
So it's great when you have those long pieces of content that Lara was talking about that you can dice up and split up and move around. And sometimes you have a new offer coming up. You've got a new show, or it's coming into the fall and you're looking for more students for your studio, or you're looking for, and you've got an exhibition, or there's a play coming. There's certain things that you can promote. But when you're not promoting, what are you going to do? What can you share? What can you show people that they would be interested in hearing about? And that's where sometimes coming up with content ideas is a little, you sit there in front of your computer, you got your coffee, you're ready to go, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to people. What do I talk to them about? What do I do? There's a few things. As artists, a lot of people find what we do to be very mysterious. They love behind the scenes information. If you're a visual artist, prepping the canvas, how you choose, why you choose one medium over another. If you are a dancer or a choreographer, how you note tape dance choreo, just showing them glimpses of things behind the scenes. Those are always great types of information to share with people. You want to balance out your content where you're promoting, behind the scene content that you're interested in, that you found somewhere else that you think your audience might be interested in. And when you share someone else's content like that, it actually gets you, not only, your audience will see it, but you also have the benefit now of the eyeballs of the other person. So I'm going to share Lara's great social media post on my channel. Lara sees that I've shared it. Some of her followers will note that I've also shared this post. My friends will now see this, and it just helps get more and more and more eyeballs on each piece of content as it goes forward. And it also shows that you are engaged with the community around you. You are engaged with other people, other artists, other things. You're aware of things, and you can become a resource. People know that they're going to follow you because not only do they get to see your work being done, but they find out really interesting things about that particular style of art or that particular channel or whatever it is that you're doing. when you're looking for students, that kind of thing, just being able to share content from other sites and just being part of those kinds of conversations will help you. However, sometimes you just really are stuck. How do I know what people are looking for? How do I know what to do? What's going to happen? Like, what should I do? And this is where you get to come in and you get to be a bit of a cyber Sherlock. It's ethical hacking, we'll call it ethical hacking. First thing you can do is look at your competitors, look at other schools, music schools, dance schools, acting schools, visual arts schools, any of those kinds of things. Look at what they're doing. Take a look at the stuff that they have on their site, on their pages and their feeds. Look at what it is that's got good response from their audiences. See how that might apply to you. And the big one is, what aren't they doing? What are things that you think they should be telling people about, or that you would tell your students about or prospective students and they're not? That missing information can be a big differentiator for you. The other thing you can do is you can go out in the world and use the internet to snoop things. Everybody's done the Google search, right? You start typing in the Google field, what is, how many miles is it to wherever it is, or what's the temperature? And as soon as you start typing things in, that Google search dropdown will show up for you. All of those things that are showing up, all those alternate questions, those are things that people have been looking for. And those are quite helpful for you. They could be a good starting point for you to think of what else to share. There are a few other really great sites. One thing to look at is one site called Answer the Public. And I'm hoping this is going to work. It did when I tried it yesterday. Let's just see. That's not working. Let's go over here. Are you able to see a man looking very intently at you? Okay, this guy drives me bananas. It changes every so often, but he looks very intently. This is a really fun site to play with. So for example, we're gonna look up chamber music. This is something we did, chamber music, and you just hit search and he nods smugly at you and goes and does his happy little thing. And as you scroll down here on the page, and my computer is struggling because I'm streaming and searching at the same time. Sorry, just give it 1 second here. You're going to get a wheel of questions and a wheel of answers, which is really quite fun. It's probably a little hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Maybe that's a little easier. But for example, chamber music. So what defines chamber music? What's an example of chamber music? How do you play chamber music? Is chamber music a genre? What is considered chamber music? How can you define chamber music? All these kinds of things are great prompts when you're writing blogs, social media posts, articles, anything that you're doing. These are things that people in the world are out there looking for and searching for. And they give you lots and lots of examples. So these kinds of sites are really quite fun to play with once you get past the really smarmy looking guy on the screen. He honestly drives me nuts. A quick example. So if in Google, I'm going to search hamster toys, for example, here's a whole bunch of ideas, things that you can write about, post about, and things, hamster toys for kids, hamster toys at PetSmart, hamster toys from the 2000s. I didn't realize that was a thing. Who knew? And there are lots of other things that you can do that you can play with. I can show you, let's get off this screen for a second here. It's just going to confuse the issue. There are certain plugins that you can get, these keywords everywhere and keyword surfer. These are all kinds of things. I've gone back, you all can see that now. Again, it says others. Okay, good. Got rid of the guy. Excellent. I'm not a tech demonstrator, I'm a social media person. The keywords everywhere and the keyword surfers, often they're used by people who do something called SEO, search engine optimization. It's a bit of it's a whole other field about how to be found on the internet, and not at all what we're talking about today. However, those kinds of plugins, if you use them in your browser, what it will do is it will pop up on the side of, when you do a Google search like that, it'll pop up a whole list of questions and keywords and things that people are looking for. It's just another tool you can use when you're looking for what on earth could I talk about. Quora is a great site. People ask lots of questions to Quora. Some of the questions are truly ridiculous. Take that one with a box of salt, not a grain of salt. And then if you happen to offer courses or you have access to things in Teachable or Kajabi, those are other platforms, you can go in there and look at what those topics are, what the courses are being taught, all those kinds of things. Borrow, steal, don't take their content, but steal the idea. If you're the content, if the course is about watercolor techniques or something, whatever it is, like look at what they're covering in that course and then see if you can answer those questions. If you're a visual artist, practice tips for students who hate to sit at the piano, whatever it happens to be. Again, these are all kind of places that you can go to and you can figure out some ideas and things of where you can get your content. And all of this leads into building your content calendars. Where Lara and I wanted to take the group, Jennifer, if you're able to split them into 2 breakout rooms, we thought we'd take a few minutes and each of us will go with you and we'll show you a couple of content calendars and how these kind of things work so you can actually see some of this stuff in action.
We still have one more thing to cover before we head over to the Q&A. So we're going to go a little bit over an hour, but that's okay. So I think we're heading back to Lara for...
That's right. Okay, so I will just zoom past this. I want to talk really, really quickly about social media advertising and metrics, how to measure if your social media is successful or not. This could be a whole topic in itself, so just keep that in mind. Just another tougher bluff. I can reach my ideal customer without paying for social media ads. Tough or bluff? Let me know in the chat what you think. Yeah, it's bluff. I mean, you can be very lucky and just post organic, so just without using any ads and reach your target audience. That is a possibility. But again, it's really hard with the algorithms these days. They're really pushing you to pay for advertising. Why social media ads? I basically sum it down to this one idea, which you want to deliver the right message. So your post or your ad that you want to post up to the right people at the right time. So that is the huge benefit of social media advertising, because you can get really specific with who you're targeting. Like you can target people who have been to your website, people who have been to a certain section of your website, people who are part of your email list, or you can even feed the algorithm your data and say, okay, find people who are similar to those that are on my email contact list. So you can get really specific with who you're targeting, and that's the benefit of social media ads, is you can like literally target anyone. And by targeting them at the right time, maybe they are looking for a new voice instructor, right? So by using ads, you will be able to target them at the right time. So that is the major benefit of ads. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. For small businesses, kind of the rule of thumb is $5 a day. And it takes about 5 days for the algorithm to actually learn what is working and what's not. So you don't have to have a huge budget, but I do recommend allocating some budget to social media ads. Again, what do ads look like? They are a wide variety. A lot of clients I talk to just have this one perception of ads being purely promotional. And we also kind of see this ad pop up, which is trying to sell you certain things. How you know it's an ad, on the very top, it will say sponsored. That's how you know it's an ad. But other ads can be non-promotional. It can even be if you have a particular blog post that you want people to see, a specific audience to see, then you can run an ad for coverage for it to be seen. So here are other examples of social media ads. You can tell they're not very promotional at all. And even some of them are, when you go log on to certain social platforms, it may recommend who to follow. That could also be an ad as well. So how do you measure whether your social media is successful or not? There are a whole different tools. And again, I'll share these slides after so you can look into these. But you basically want to make sure you have strong website analytics. I personally use Google Analytics, and you can tell from there how people interact with your website. So maybe they come from Facebook and then they go to your website and they actually make a purchase. That's pretty valuable knowledge to learn. So Google Analytics is pretty key for that. within the social media apps themselves, they usually have an insights or an analytics tool, so you can see what posts are successful, which aren't. And if you use any third-party social media tools to schedule your posts, so Buffer and Hootsuite are popular, they would also have some tools in there that you can use. But the main message is like, how do you actually know if your posts are successful or not, depending on where you are in your business. If you just start out and create a Facebook page, you can't necessarily assume you're going to make sales right away if you have like 10 followers, right? So these are just some suggestions. If you're just starting out, you should focus on reach, which is how many people actually see your post. And what I like to measure is just take your average reach per post and compare it month to month. That is something that I used to know, okay, last month, in the month of April, I reached maybe 100 people with my posts. Now it's May, I'm reaching 120. Okay, cool, this is what is working, what's not. My favorite metric to measure is engagement, which is how many people are actually interacting from your content, with your content. So when you're scrolling through your newsfeed, do people actually stop on your post and like it? Do they click on it? Do they go to your website? This shows me when I'm starting to build a community, when I have more followers and I want to engage my followers. This is a really good metric to show what posts are working, which ones are more engaging, which aren't. And then lastly, these are kind of specific. Some people use social media as a customer service tool. So you might want to measure how many private messages you get. So again, if you're running a voice studio and you might get a lot of questions, so you might measure, okay, how many private messages do I get? How many comments do I get on each post asking me about my business? And so there are some different KPIs there that you can measure month to month. And then lastly, if you are in a comfortable position where you're able to measure social media sales or sales in general, if you do have a following and they are engaged, then you might measure how many people see your post and actually make a purchase. So a common metric is cost per conversion or cost per sale. Again, with your analytics tools, we'll be able to tell you this. And yeah, we're a little bit over, so I'm gonna stop sharing.
That's great. Well, it's been really fantastic so far. I think I know both of you have been answering questions in the chat. So there's been some Q&A already happening. So thank you for that. And for some reason, I can't see the chat right now. But yes, does anyone have any questions at this point? For some reason, I don't know why I can't see the chat, but here we go. Oh, someone's asking if you can share a calendar template. Yeah.
Yeah, both of us have slides that we can send to Jennifer to share with you afterwards, and we'll both include a link to a template that you guys can look at. They'll also have ways that you can reach out to us if you need to, if you want to ask questions and get in touch. I know Lara and I had a great time kicking around ideas, just coming up with content for this. So we both love doing that with other people.
Great. There's someone asked, sorry, I did not share the link to Kathy's seminar. I'm going to get that right
thank
now.
You. That's great. And if you message me and let me know that you were part of this, webinar, just send me a note, because I'll send you a code so that you can get a discount rate on it.
And I'm posting that right there. Anybody else have any somewhere we can go for more learning or even certification on social media?
There's lots of certifications out there. I mean, I'm a little biased because I teach for Humber, so I can link to you the Humber social media certificate. I teach 2 courses through there. But yeah, there's a lot of the colleges are offering social media certificates these days.
Great. Just looking if there's any other.
The platforms will also offer some training as well. I think Facebook, it's called Blueprint, LinkedIn Online. I forget what Instagram's called, but you can search it up. The platforms often do that. Mm-hmm.
Great, and we will again forward you Kathy's, the link to Kathy's page and also the social media artist page, the Blue Elephant in social media. So if you want to get in contact with either Kathy or Lara after this, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions or talk to you about any campaigns. And also we'll be sending up a follow-up email, as I said, and please do let us know what you thought about this session. Also, what else you would like to see in webinar series, because we continue to develop these as tools for the sector. And wow, thank you so much, Kathy and Lara. It's a lot.
It was a fire hose, I know. But on everything. Yeah.
So very helpful. I mean, every one of those points could be its own webinar, but I think everybody has left here with some great tools and great ideas. So thank you so much. And we have 2 more coming up in the series. So if you're interested in learning about building or developing your website, that one's next week. Or in 2 weeks, we're talking to 2 organizations and kind of their strategies for discoverability throughout the pandemic. So, and that'll be a panel discussion. So thank you again, Kathy and Lara. Everyone have a terrific rest of your day. And we will also be posting the video for this and sending any other materials your way shortly. So thanks, everyone.